The last speaker for our morning session is Dave Ellifrit. Don't stand on that side of the room. Dave earned his bachelor degree from Everett University and has been on the staff at the Center for Well Research since 1990. Going back to what Ken was saying about the Earth Watch and the importance of Earth Watch, Dave came out as an Earth Watcher, and he came with just an amazing knowledge of the Southern residents already. And by the time Dave was ready to leave that first year, Ken saw the value in Ken as a friend, and Dave as a friend and as a colleague, and asked Dave to come back. So he's been with CWR since 1990. He's responsible for the curation of our killer whale photographic library and our associated database. He's affectionately known as the Fin Guy, able to recognize virtually any eastern North Pacific killer whale at a glance. People have said that he does this, he's got a photographic memory. He doesn't. What he does is have an amazing ability to study and spend the time, take the time to learn the whales, and that's how he knows the whales. Sorry, I'm going off cue here. Dave also does subcontract cetacean identification work for several projects funded by both our federal government and nonprofit organizations. He's currently working under a Pew Grant, where he is creating the first ever photo ID catalog of type A and type B1s and B2s of killer whales from Antarctica. And I just want to put a little plug in. I feel very fortunate to get to work with Dave. There's nothing better than being at work, and I feel like most of my sentences start with, "Hey, Dave." And he has the knowledge that I need right then. And so it's my pleasure to introduce Dave Ellifrit.
Thank you, gals. And thanks everybody for coming. All right, this talk is, it's about the minor little details of everything. Basically, I'm going to give a real ultra brief history on where Mike and Ken started with photo identification, and then getting into the things that we've been noticing and all the little details over the years. All right, as Ken said earlier, Mike Bigg was the one who started photo identification of killer whales in the early 1970s. He and Graham Ellis began up in the northern Vancouver Island. They went up and started noticing that they could identify individuals if they got good enough photos out of them. The whales would look different, have different saddles and nicks on the dorsal fin. And this is where he started cataloging the whales up there in 1973, the A's, B's, C's, D's, and in 1973, so this photo identification was a whole new thing, and there were a lot of doubters out there about whether photo identification actually worked. So there was a capture in fall of '73 in Pedder Bay near Race Rocks. A group of 4 whales, 2 L-pod whales, 2 K-pod whales. 3 of them were taken off and put in captivity, but there was a young male that was too big to put in captivity or move, really. So Mike Bigg had a vet cut 2 notches into his dorsal fin as kind of an example that nicks don't really change, and you can track these whales over the years. And anyway, so all their basically in 1974, Mike Bigg and Graham started around southern Vancouver Island, and they just happened to be at letters J, K, and L at the time, and that's why we have J, K, and L pods. And so they, to standardize things, they only took left sides, so nobody could accuse them of overcounting whales for, say whale fights. So they only stuck to left sides, and developed a method of taking high-speed black and white photographs. Negatives, basically you push the ISO and increase the developing time, and it supposedly brought out the scratches more than I guess with regular black and white film did. But anyway, that was the technique for years and years and years. Taking left sides, black and white. Ken started in 1976, as he read, with the Southern residents, and using Mike's methods, taking black and white film. But Ken and the crew in the early years were, so they often had whales going the wrong way for left sides. So they often had better lighting for rights. And there's some whales are completely different looking on left and right sides, as well, 78. So ever since 1976, Ken and the center have been taking left and right sides of 4 years. And so we do this every year, go out when the whales show up, give as many left and rights of every whale during each encounter, documenting all new little nicks happening and new scratches every year, new calves, new deaths, and new scratches like this, looks like that. Anyway, so we shot black and white film from 1976 up to about 2003. Or in 2002, we started playing with digital photography. It was the future, we knew it was coming, and we started playing with it. In 2002, 2003, we were shooting, comparing both black and white and digital, and we switched completely to digital in 2004. And what digital photography has done is kind of been an enabler for trigger-happy people with cameras. And when we were shooting black and white, we would identify every whale in every frame, and that would all go on the computer. With digital film, we were all taking way too many photos. However, I'll defend it. I feel like the more pictures you take and the more you look at, the more you notice. You notice a little odd shapes and but we're looking at them, they're normal looks and they're non-normal looks, but but anyway, all this yearly photo identification has allowed us to put all these family groups and social systems together, but it also allows us to get a basic look at, from the boat you only see so much, but it does give you a basic idea on how whales should look, and we kind of know when they're looking not right. Back in the mid-90s, we started having a series of whales that were obviously on their way out. They were losing blubber behind the blowhole, and they get this real long, low divot behind the blowhole. And we call that a peanut head syndrome. Mainly because, with the hump of the melon and then the dip, it kind of looked like the top half of a peanut. So, peanut head. Ken actually saw a whale, J15, in 1976 with a peanut head, but then we had a big gap until about 1994, and then we had a rash of them in the mid-90s. But this is K28, 2006, the same day that those K39 and K41 pictures that Astrid showed were taken. But, this is L67. You can see the dip behind your blowhole. And these whales are pretty much gone by this point. They'll get real sunken in here, right in front of the blowhole. You'll see the ribs, the scapula, and stuff like that. So it's not pleasant. But anyway, but the little encouraging thing is we have had some scary moments with individuals that were looking way too thin for what they should be, but they fill back out again. And this is one of those things that comes from taking lots of forehead shots like this, which kind of ups the number of frames you take every day, but it does give you shots, things like this. This is J26 in mid-July, or end of July 2010. This is not his normal look, and this was scary looking. This is J26 not looking good at all. but he fattened back out. And this is one of the few times that we've actually had a whale kind of go from not looking good to actually filling back out. So there is hope that they can have a little spurt of something somewhere and get back to normal. But anyway, this is L41, who I think this is 2012, but he also had a really kind of scary look. This is not his normal look. So he had a thin year, but he came back the next year. Luckily, he survived the winter. Came back the next winter and was fine. He's now 40. So we finally have another whale, or bull, that's made it to 40. Anyway, the southern residents are, we have a lot of funny looking whales, I think. If you didn't know that it was their normal look, you'd be worried about them. And this is L92. And he's got a look that, if we did not know him better, we'd be a little bit worried about that. Because he's got this thing, it's not quite technically dippy right here. Be a peanut head, but it's still. But he's looked like this since he was 4 years old. And he looks like this every year. So it's his normal look. And we have, here's another example of another whale. This is a 109. And if we did not know him, we'd say he was in trouble. But this is his normal look. So it gives, if nothing else, it gives us a little less to worry about. However, knowing what the whale looks like normally kind of gives you, it gives you a heads up on when they're not looking normal. And this is a picture of J28, December 2015. This is her normal look, nice and fat. February 2016, she had this little plateau here. And that just wasn't right for her. That wasn't her normal look. And that was, we better keep an eye on her. And sure enough, she deteriorated throughout the whole summer, and her calf too, and they were both gone by the end of the year. So that was an early detection. And there's only, there's not much you really can do, but observe and report, I guess. Anyway, but on a happier note, get the occasional glimpses of pregnant whales. This is L86, pregnant with L120. But you can see she's got a big belly right there. And these are pictures of Jeannie hides. This is J32, 2014 breaching while pregnant. So occasionally we catch glimpses of whales before they actually have calves. And back to less pleasant, and we've also documented some difficult pregnancies, both in 2011 and 2013. L90 just showed up kind of late summer, just super sway back, stiff as a board. She could not arch, and just lagging behind everybody, moving really slow. And didn't the people get, in 2011 or 2013, got poop on her when she was confirmed a pregnancy. So we weren't wrong about our guesses that she would have a calf stuck in her. But anyway, this has happened to her twice, but she survived it. Unfortunately, this is kind of the same thing that happened to J32. With J32, the fall before she washed up dead, and we know she had a calf in her, and she was acting the same way, super stiff. So there's little pressing things like that, but more happier stuff. With all the, one of the nice things about taking lots of pictures and getting out of the water is you have the opportunity to catch calves closer to their birth date. And we've, in the last, with each new calf, we kind of get a little closer, get a little bit better idea of actually, how old exactly is that calf. So this is, it was kind of neat to put together a little, have to kind of composite whale, there's different ones. But this is J49, on August 12th, or 2012, August 6th, 2012, August 2012. We had J37 go past the center, and then later that day we went out and we found J37 with a little calf. So within the 2 hours that it took us to find her, between when she went past the house, she had little calf, and it was a tiny little wrinkly, pencilly thin sort of thing with a flopped over dorsal fin. And one of our questions was, well, how long does it take for a dorsal fin to straighten out? We didn't know. Well, next day we got out. Oh, one day. Answer that question. And so, but there's still kind of, we get reports all the time from boats going, oh, I think there's a new calf out here. It's really tiny looking. But it's amazing what lighting can do. And things, being on a big boat, long way away, and lighting will make, a 2-year-old look really cool. So it can be confusing, but we were kind of, we could help give people a better idea of just, okay, it's not, we know about that calf, don't get us all excited. But anyway, at 2 days, they're still very bony, or not bony, but they're just really skinny. They got a little crest right here, right behind the blowhole. Just kind of, I don't know, head shape. I always think it looks like a lizard. But anyway, it's kind of going to be hard to see, but this is a very young, when they're this young, you can still see the saddle really, really well. It's really bright, and you'll see field holes when they're very young. That's a field hole right there. There's another one right there. It's not quite dark enough to see them, the details. And unfortunately, I don't think there's going to be detail to see this. Oh, unfortunately, you can't see it very well. But when they're this young, if this is the only picture this is Ken's photo, it's the only picture I've ever seen where the lighting's been good enough to see it. But this little L120 has little hair follicles, those little bumps, and it had two. Unfortunately, it's not quite dark enough, but there's a little hair coming out of one of those little things. Those won't disappear, but that's kind of doesn't mean anything, but it's kind of cute. Anyway, this is J52 at 1.5 weeks, and they're still kind of skinny. They still got a little crest there, and you could probably, I think you can still see field holes at this point. J49, 6 weeks. They start filling out, getting fatter. And at about 3.5 months, in the past, when there was a lot fewer off-season encounters, when K and L would show up, often if there's a new calf, they would show up. They'd be all peely. They'd have all this dead skin all over them, and we never quite knew when the calf was born over the winter. But they'd show up and be all peely, and you could never see the saddle patch. So so with new calves, we started relying on eye patches, and so the center has both a southern resident and a transient eye patch catalog for both sides of everybody. And you kind of need this to get through the peely months, so you can kind of confirm, who's that calf? Well, you can match eye patches. They're a lot tougher. It takes a lot better picture to work off of, and the right angle. And they're fun to use to ID at spy hops and things like that. But they were put together mainly for branding calves. Anyway, and they start getting that peely look at about 3.5 months, and it lasts a couple of months. So so at about 5.5, they lose it. And here's L121. You can see the saddle came back, and most of this patchiness is gone. So like from that 3.5 to 5.5 months, they get all peely. And so basically, and also, they're really, really orange still in their first 4 or 5 months. After that, the orange starts turning to yellow. And actually, if you have a late evening, beautiful red sunset, every whale is going to look a little bit oranger. Lighting helps or hurts. But anyway, so if you have a pretty well filled out fat little calf that's yellowish and you can see its saddle, it's over 6 months old. Anyway, it's just moving on. One of the nice things about killer whales is they're relatively easy to figure out what sex they are. And this has helped with social dynamics over the years, because you instead of just two whales playing around with each other, we're female, something like that. Anyway, adult males are super easy to figure out, you know, with big fins, big packs, and stuff like that. But females are pretty easy too. Yeah, they got the memory slits a lot fatter. But little calves can be tough. Actually, in recent years, most of our sexes are pretty much courtesy of all the whale moms out there for shoving their kids around and playing with them near us. It's just been amazing how some moms just don't care, and they'll just roll their kids over to the boat and roll them around. And it's like, thanks, Mom. This is K-44, and Jeannie Heidi called us, and I think the day or two before K-27 been seen without a calf, and Jeannie called and said, "Oh, K-27 has a new calf," and we found it right outside of Snug. It still has part of the sunbelt before it attached. The mom just, she kind of lifted up and was like, "Here's the right side." Then she kind of moved it around, and here's the left side. She rolled it over, and here's the sex. I was like, "Thanks, Mom." But it can be, it was kind of obvious he's a little male. But female, this is a little female. And they can be, when they're really little, they can be a lot tougher because this part is really skinny when they're really young, it's really compressed, and it doesn't quite widen out till later. So when people get overly excited when they see that underwater, they'll man. But anyway, and to make things harder, I got asked to put these pictures in. But we have a few individuals out there that have, just to make things tougher, we have individuals out there with fake memory slits. This is actually a transient. This is T100C, but he's a male. But he's got these little markings right here just to make things cool. And this was L95, Nige. He had a couple too. Luckily, we didn't need those at the time or we didn't notice them at the time to confuse us. We knew he was a male. So anyway, L95, now gone. Another. But anyway, looking at all these pictures, there's a whole bunch of little details that we catch, and it's kind of here's J46, and a couple years ago she got a couple little bumps around her blowhole. I don't know what they are. They kind of just little bumps, but they stayed there. But that's going to be something that and there's other little smudges. There's J51. He's got this little smudge on his melon. That's permanent. It's not going away. So that'll give it. And another little thing. This is L110. He's being shoved around like his mom. He's not stranded. He's not stranded. No, he's high and dry in his mom. But he must have had a run-in with a fishing leader or something, because he's got this really painful-looking torn lip. And you can see his tooth in there. And you can see his little. So he's got this kind of jagged, snarl. It doesn't mean anything, but it's cool. But anyway, what these little details, the extra crew and us are going to be getting into drone work here, and it's all these little details that are going to make some whales a whole lot easier to ID from the air. Some whales are going to be easy to ID when we start doing our drone work. This is L25, and she's a super easy whale to ID. She's got the open saddle on one side and closed on the other with the finger. But some whales are going to be a whole lot tougher. And it's a little too light in here to see anything, but this is a 103, but she's always had these nice little white stars on her saddle. And that's a permanent thing, these little white stars. And you can't quite see it in here, but those little stars like that are kind of crucial. But also temporary things are going to make things easy too. This is even bulls can sometimes be kind of hard to ID from the air. This is L85, and if you get in where water's not too clear, you can't always see the flukes or the pecks. You can kind of tell he's got a big fin. His fin kind of curls at the tip, so it gives him a little there. But what you can't tell is we've had several years where the whales come in and they have a whole lot of dead skin all over, really peely looking. And so he's kind of got all this dead skin all over his back, and stuff like that for the year is extremely helpful. to it. You can't quite see it, but this is from the same day. That's a picture that the helicopter crew got from the air, and this is a picture I got from the boat around the same time. But it's almost like blue whale spots. You can match up the dead skin. But anyway, things like that are going to be coming in handy for the aerial stuff. And I think I must be going right here because I wanted to say a little brief thing about transients. And as Jane said, we got a changing world out here, and transients have suddenly become a huge part of our community, where they weren't so much in the years past. A couple of carnage shots. But when Ken started in '76, there were very few transients around. The Marine Mammal Protection Act had just started up in 1972, and prior to that, there had been a bounty on harbor seals and sea lions and things like that. So the marine mammal population was pretty low back then. And there was just a few groups bopping around, Charlie Chin's group and a group of O's and a few other small groups. And the spring of when Ken started in '76, there was I can't remember exactly. Anyway, 1976, Bud Inlet capture. There was the final capture in Puget Sound, and this was one of the more well-known transients in the area for a while. He was known as 04 at the time, and he and his mom were given to the University of Washington to radio tag and let go, or release. So they were in Kanaka Bay here, radio tagged and released in '76, and went all the places that the tag showed. He went all the places we know transients go now. But he was always a very well-known whale around here because he was easy to ID because he had tag scars. He was around until 2010. And there's another whale we captured who's been around quite a bit this year. This is T46. At the time, she was known as S1, but she was in the Bud Inlet capture, and since she's been released, she's had at least 7 calves, and it is now a great grandmother. And this is her last meals too. Yeah. And this is her with T46E when he was a newborn, and here he is today. He's a hulking 14-year-old, and that wasn't even her last calf. I forgot. T's used. Some people know this, but T's used to have a different naming system. In the 70s, 80s, they basically had all the letters that were in between all the resident pods. They had the F's and the Q's and the O's and the numbers like that. But there were more pods than there were letters. And a lot of these whales went up to Southeast Alaska and had different names up there. It kind of got ridiculous. And so in the early 90s, Graham Ellis developed a new naming system. A lot of people don't like, but it works. It's basically, giving everybody a T number, and their female's first known kid is that whale's number, mom's number with A, second kid with B, and then if that mom's A kid has a calf, their first calf is her name with a 1 after it. And it kind of alternates letters and numbers with every generation. We're up to whales like T124A2A. So 20 years it'll be somebody else's problem. But it's just now starting to get up. But it's kind of neat because it gives you the whole, the whole family history in a name. But anyway, and then so there in the 70s, 80s we had regular transients around here, but there weren't a whole lot, and not that many encounters. Robin Baird, I think, took almost 10 years to reach 100 encounters for his PhD, and we're doing better than that these days. But around the early 2000s, we kind of got invaded by the Alaskans. This is a picture of T100s, 101s, 124s, and these guys were all common, regular transients up in Southeast Alaska in the 90s. And I'm sure they got them in Canada on the North Coast sometimes, but they really didn't start making appearances down here until the early 2000s. Now these guys are our most common transients that we have, almost, or one of the more common, or several of the more common groups. And they always seem to show up with regulars. They kind of show them around, show them where good eating is, and then they come back on their own. But we've been getting a whole, not only is the population decreasing, but we've been getting a whole lot of groups that didn't previously use the area and now using the area. And we're getting larger groups. We're getting groups of over 20 whales. And in this day and age, lots of marine mammals and lack of salmon are, we're getting our residents lurking around in small groups where, like transients used to, and we're getting these big old groups of socializing transients bombing up the strait these days. So it's different. And what's nice is sooner or later we're going to get all these exotics that we see in the catalogs that never show up in this area. Sooner or later they show up. This is T-170. This is a North Coast whale that just only second time I think he's ever been in Narrow Strait this summer, and very high on everybody's wish list of whales to see. We show them this summer. We get occasional other. It seems like every year there's a group that shows up that's hadn't been here before. Even if they're known pretty well in some other part of the coast, a few showed up a couple of years ago. Anyway, it's a changing world, and we're hopefully going to find a way to get out on transients more often, or something like that. But at the moment, we're getting the ones we get. If they're new transients, we do kind of confer to Jared Towers and DFO if there's a new calf. We kind of know what the calf is going to be called, but we go, hey Jared, is this who we think it is? Just so they all go to him. But I think I'm. So anyway, digital photography is just allowed, with so many more photos being taken, we're just noticing so many more little details. And while a lot of it might not be important in the long run, it's, every little detail helps. So anyway, I think I'm done. That was pretty good.